Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got a huge Cowboys update for you as we dive deep into some of the most talked about rumors surrounding the team right now. From injury concerns that could shake up the wide receiver rotation, to the ongoing quarterback discussion that's heating up with Joe Milton and Will Grier, and finally to the surprising roster bubble situation involving Miles Sanders, there's a lot going on in Dallas and Cowboys Nation is buzzing. So let's break it all down, piece by piece, and really explore how these stories could affect the Cowboys as they prepare for the upcoming season. First, let's get into the news that has Cowboys fans both nervous and curious: the injury surrounding Jonathan Mingo. Now, Mingo came to Dallas with a lot of promise, a young receiver with size, speed, and the ability to create separation that this Cowboys offense desperately needs. When he's been on the field during training camp and preseason, we've seen flashes of his potential, the type of big-bodied receiver who can complement CeeDee Lamb and take pressure off the Cowboys' passing attack. But unfortunately, reports have surfaced that Mingo has picked up a knock that could sideline him, and even if it's not long-term, it raises questions about depth and how much the Cowboys can truly rely on him in year one. Injuries are always concerning, especially with rookies or young players trying to carve out their role, because every rep they miss in camp is one less chance to build chemistry with Dak Prescott and gain the trust of the coaching staff. If Mingo's injury lingers, this could be more significant than fans realize. Dallas is already thin when it comes to proven depth behind CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. Michael Gallup has had his struggles returning from injury in past seasons, and while Jalen Tolbert has shown improvement, he still has to prove he can be a consistent threat. That means Mingo's absence could create a hole where the Cowboys might be forced to look outside the organization for help, or lean heavier on tight ends and running backs in the passing game. But at the same time, these situations also open the door for others. A guy like Tolbert, or even an undrafted rookie, could suddenly find themselves with more opportunities to step into that third receiver role. So while this is definitely a concern, it's also a moment to watch closely because sometimes these injuries reshape the depth chart in ways no one expects. Shifting gears, the quarterback situation is one of the most intriguing storylines in Cowboys camp, and the names at the center of this discussion right now are Joe Milton and Will Grier. Now, everyone knows Dak Prescott is the unquestioned starter, but the backup quarterback position in Dallas has been a revolving door and a major point of debate over the past few seasons. We've seen how crucial that role can be across the league. One injury to a starter, and suddenly your backup is the guy carrying the season. So it's not surprising that the Cowboys are seriously evaluating their options behind Dak. Joe Milton is a fascinating name because of his physical tools. Coming out of Tennessee, Milton drew attention for his cannon of an arm. There are throws he makes that just leave people in awe, whether it's deep bombs downfield or rockets on the sideline. But with Milton, the concern has always been consistency and accuracy. Having that big arm is great, but in the NFL you need to pair it with precision and decision-making. Dallas seems intrigued enough to give him real reps and see if he can develop, and that's what makes this conversation so exciting. Could Milton be the type of developmental project who eventually solidifies himself as the clear number 2, or even positions himself as a potential future starter down the line? On the other hand, you have Will Grier, a quarterback who's been around the league and has a bit more experience under his belt. Grier doesn't have the same raw arm talent as Milton, but he does bring poise, leadership, and a knowledge of NFL systems that can't be overlooked. Coaches love players who are steady, and when you're talking about a backup QB, sometimes that reliability and ability to manage the game matters more than having the flashiest arm. So this becomes an interesting battle of upside versus experience. Milton may have the tools, but Grier might be the safer bet if something were to happen to Dak in the short term. Cowboys fans are split on this too. Some love the idea of developing a guy like Milton, letting him grow under Dak and the coaching staff, and seeing if he can blossom into more than just a backup. Others want the security of a player like Grier who can step in and keep the offense functional without creating chaos. Either way, this storyline is worth watching closely throughout camp and preseason because the decisions made here will directly affect how secure the Cowboys feel behind Dak Prescott going into the year. And now, perhaps the most surprising rumor floating around, the possibility that running back Miles Sanders could actually be on the roster bubble. That's right, Sanders, who was once a 1,000-yard rusher and a Pro Bowl caliber back in Philadelphia, might be in danger of not solidifying a spot in Dallas. This is a stunning development because when Dallas added Sanders, the expectation was that he would be part of a committee to fill the void left after the departure of Ezekiel Elliott and the inconsistency we've seen behind Tony Pollard. Sanders was supposed to bring veteran stability, vision, and explosiveness. But so far, things haven't played out the way many envisioned. Reports indicate that Sanders hasn't looked as sharp in camp, and there are concerns about his fit within the Cowboys' offensive scheme. When you combine that with the emergence of younger, hungrier backs fighting for roster spots, suddenly Sanders' position isn't as safe as many thought it would be. Dallas has been evaluating Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and even undrafted free agents who are turning heads, and in a league where running backs are more replaceable than ever, every rep matters. If Sanders can't show he's clearly better than these younger options, the Cowboys may have a very tough decision to make. Of course, Sanders' experience is valuable. He's a proven NFL back, and that counts for something. But with his contract situation and the fact that running backs age quickly, the Cowboys might decide to go younger, cheaper, and fresher at the position. This could be one of those classic training camp stories where a veteran with a recognizable name finds himself edged out by an up-and-coming player. And for Cowboys fans, this highlights just how competitive the roster battles are right now. No one is safe unless they're a true star, and that includes someone like Sanders who was brought in with expectations but hasn't locked anything down yet. So, when you put all these pieces together, the Cowboys are facing some really intriguing challenges and decisions. The Jonathan Mingo injury raises questions about depth at wide receiver and whether Dallas can afford to rely so heavily on unproven players behind CeeDee Lamb. The Joe Milton versus Will Grier debate keeps the quarterback room buzzing, and it's one of those storylines that could go either way depending on how preseason reps play out. And then the Miles Sanders roster bubble situation is a reminder that in today's NFL, name value doesn't guarantee job security, and every roster spot has to be earned. What's most interesting is how all three of these situations connect to the larger picture of where the Cowboys stand heading into the season. This is a team with playoff aspirations, a team that believes it can make a run to the Super Bowl if things fall into place. But as we know, depth, health, and roster decisions are often the difference between a team that makes a deep playoff push and a team that falls short. Every injury, every roster battle, every quarterback decision, it all adds up. The next few weeks will be critical for Dallas. Fans should keep a close eye on Mingo's recovery and whether the team looks for additional receiver help. Watch the quarterback battle closely because that decision could come down to the wire. And don't sleep on the running back competition, because the Cowboys might just surprise everyone with a bold move regarding Miles Sanders. Training camp and preseason always bring drama, but this year in Dallas it feels even more amplified, as if every storyline could have ripple effects across the entire season. And so, Cowboys Nation, that's where things stand right now. From Mingo's injury to the quarterback conversation to Sanders' uncertain status, there is no shortage of drama around this team. As always, we'll be here to track every development and bring you the latest updates as they happen. If you love keeping up with the Cowboys and want to stay locked in on all the rumors, news, and analysis, make sure you hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments about who you think wins the quarterback battle or whether Sanders will make the roster, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a Cowboys update.